Awesome, thank you. And with that, I'm done. Thank you, Maria. And can everyone hear me in the back, okay? I tend to have a very quiet voice. Awesome. Okay, so thank you, Phil. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, all you beautiful souls, for coming tonight. We certainly hope that you enjoy it. And we're going to start out first by going on a little journey together. So imagine for a moment, it's a chilly day in December. The sun is shining. The end of your workday is nearing, yet you know there's a lot more work yet to do. So you decide you're going to go take a quick coffee and snack break. So you put on your coat, because it's a chilly day in December in Colorado, and you start venturing outside. And as you do, you get a phone call from your customer. But that's okay, because you can multitask. So you start walking across to the nearest coffee shop, when all of a sudden, you have this really bizarre feeling, like you are falling. And you continue to just keep falling. And you have no idea what's happening, but it just seems to never end. Until all of a sudden, you wake up, and you're lying in the middle of the street. Now that phone call you were just on, that suddenly stopped. Yet the customer on the other end, they certainly know that something did just happen. So they just start making other calls. So you try to collect yourself, yet there's a crowd forming around you. Your coworkers, eventually paramedics, and they're all asking you a lot of questions, trying to make sure, are you okay? So eventually you end up in an ambulance, followed by the ER, where you're welcomed by an army of what seems like an army of medical professionals all waiting for your arrival. And after many tests, and they do what they need to do to treat you, you end up in the intensive care unit. This is a situation completely brand new to you. You've never experienced this before. See, what just happened was you just became the victim of a passenger versus a motor vehicle accident, and you almost nearly died. So now let's go on a different journey. Imagine it's a weekend. You're in your mid-20s. You went out a little bit too late the night before, because we all do that when we're in our 20s, after 21. And you realize, I'm gonna take a nap. It's a weekend, I'm in college, I can do that. When you wake up, both your legs are numb. And you don't know what's happening. You think that's okay, a little blood flow, a little movement, we'll get them going. But that numbness and tingling doesn't go away. And it lasts for hours, led by days, led by weeks. So you start going to the doctor to find out what's going on, why do I have a pinched nerve? And after they do a lot of blood work, so much so that you don't think you're gonna have any left in your body, the lab technician also doesn't think there's gonna be any left, and a lot of tests, you finally meet with the doctor and get the results. That's not a pinched nerve. What you find out is you just acquired an autoimmune disease known as multiple sclerosis, or MS for short. The shockwave goes through your system, and you're not understanding how you, as a once valedictorian in high school and a star athlete in multiple sports, suddenly just learned that you picked up a disease where your own body is attacking itself from the inside out. They don't know why, but they do know that it's something you're going to face for the rest of your life. So those are two specific journeys, but let's come back to today's reality. If those situations were in your shoes, how would you handle them? What would you do? Would you succumb to the situations and just stop living? Would you give up entirely, stop doing all of the things that you once loved? Well, sadly, that is exactly what a lot of people do. They fall into the victim mentality and what I consider the woe is me. But that's not at all what I did. See, those two scenarios were true stories. They're part of my personal journey that I experienced and I continue to experience to this day. And what I eventually had to realize was that the best way out was to always push through. And my message that I want to get across to everyone tonight is that each and every one of you can do that as well. You can push through all of the crap, all of the emotions that all of us go through, and all of the roller coaster rides that is life. In some cases, you may have heard a term for this. It's called being resilient. Now, this is not something that you're just born with, that you just have or you don't. It's actually a skill set. Adapt to your life. The official definition of being resilient is the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. Now, if I were to rewrite that definition, and nowadays I can just go to Wikipedia and do that on my own, but if I were to rewrite it, I would say that the definition of being resilient is the capacity to withstand or to recover from difficulties. Take out the word quickly. The reason why I do that is because everyone is a unique individual. Everyone recovers from their challenges or their situations at a different pace, through different techniques, and we all have different journeys. There is no right or wrong, and there's no set timetable as to how quickly you have to push through to get to the other side in order to be resilient. What matters most is that you find a way to recognize that the best way out is always through. So how do you do this? Well, for me personally, and there's also scientific evidence that has shown that the first place to tackle is your mindset. It's not focusing on the doomsday, the negativity that's always around you, or maybe always around you, but surrounding you, but instead trying to find ways to focus on positivity. Short little anecdote, at one point in time, I changed that to be positive, short for Tiffany. Didn't really go very far. But what you do is you try to find things that are working for you, those which bring you joy and happiness in your life. Some will say that it's as simple as being grateful for the things that you do actually have. I made it here tonight. I'm very truly honored and grateful that Phil invited me up on this stage, that I can be here with all of you when I almost died in front of my office years back. So I'm extremely grateful. When I was a child, people would ask my dad, Danny, that's his name, "Hey Danny, how are you doing?" His response would be, "Well, I'm better above ground than 6 feet underneath it." Maybe you've heard that from your parents or your grandparents. I don't know why that's what they would say. But as a kid, I always thought, that's a little morbid, Dad. As an adult, I actually get it. Now, while I still love my father, he was not necessarily a positivity type of person, but even he still found something to be grateful for. Again, it's something that you can teach and teach yourself to do. So why is your mindset so important? I'm not sure if everyone knows this or not. I'm certainly not a scientist or an expert, I'm an engineer. Is that you have multiple nervous systems through your body that are connecting your brain to the rest of your body. And if your brain and your thoughts are intermingled, and they're also then tied to the rest of your body, then what you do and what you do with your thoughts has a physiological response to how your body will respond. Do you ever notice that people that take that negative victim mentality or the woe is me, they tend to do worse. Their disease may possibly progress at a faster rate. Things just start compounding in their life, and it just starts becoming one mountain to climb over another and another. But if you find people that are actually taking the positive approach to it, they're still finding ways to find joy and happiness and laughter and love, which are also medicine. And while they'll still be going through their challenges, or managing a disease, or whatever it is, the adversity they're going through, they're not struggling as much as the other person. And it's because, whether they know it or not, they're controlling their mindset. And they're helping to control their thoughts, which then in turn controls their body. Now, by all means, I'm not here to teach you about actual medicine, modern medicine. Definitely that is something that each person should go on their own journey. I personally take medication for my MS, and I'm going to continue to do that. By the way, I'm 23 years into having MS. Woohoo! Thank you. So I want to go back to why I would pull out the timeline of the definition of being resilient. Because I've seen in situations where people really get hung up on that. They get hung up on a timeline that either others imposed onto them or they self-inflicted themselves. And when they don't meet that timeline, they get very discouraged. Since I have MS, my body recovers at a completely different rate than others. It tends to be a little bit more slower. If I always got discouraged and frustrated that I wasn't recovering at the same time as my friends or my family members, that would then lead to more negative thoughts. Those negative thoughts lead to depression, or even worse. It derails your forward progress. And rather than focusing on what is going well to help propel yourself further in trying to push through, people just get caught up. So there's multiple ways and techniques to be resilient. Mindset is just one that we're going to focus on tonight. This is something we could do all evening. People write books about it. they do podcasts. It's a very big topic now these days, and people are trying to realize and understand the true impact it's making. But the other things that also will help in other aspects of finding ways to simply to enjoy life, taking care of your body, going out and being in nature, finding ways to feed your soul as to what really drives and any passions you personally have. Saying yes to new opportunities. For me, that was trying new things that I may have always wanted to do, but maybe never had the courage to do them before. Perfect example is scuba diving. Always wanted to try it, was always a little afraid that I could do it. Eventually accomplished that. It's my newest passion now. And with that, it has then opened up new opportunities, new doorways to things that I also love doing, like traveling and traveling to amazing places, which then fostered new friendships and new possibilities. If I had taken that victim mentality and the woe is me approach, I do not believe that I would have been given these same opportunities or these new circles of friends, because people don't gravitate towards negativity. They don't gravitate towards people that are always negative and down on themselves. Deep down inside, everyone wants to feel better. They want to laugh, have fun. And positivity, it's contagious. It passes along from one person to another. Have you ever noticed how it's hard sometimes to be in a room full of everyone laughing, and you want to join in on that, you want to understand it. In some cases, you might find yourself laughing, even though maybe the joke fell flat for you. So why did I bring up those two specific scenarios? I have been through multiple different traumas in my life. I went and looked back, and there's actually been one for each decade of my life, which then makes me think, what's next? There might be more. But the reason why I brought up those two specifics is because they're different. Yet each of them, you have to use resiliency and positivity to get through them. One was a traumatic event, a point in time that then led into multiple months of recovery, possibly even years, depending upon how severe it was. And so how you tackle that might be slightly different than how you tackle something such as a disease you're going to have for the rest of your life, where you're going to find ways that you have to be resilient over and over again. Now, we're all going to have setbacks. We are human. We are not perfect. We will have those moments, and it is not realistic to expect that you're always going to be positive every hour, every day, every week, every year. But don't get discouraged, because the quicker that you can find yourself falling into that momentum and realize, hey, I need to turn things back around, then the better that you will be. And also, do not be afraid to ask for help. As Phil, as probably a lot of you know, he is very good at trying to give other people help. And so having a community and support system really kind of brings that together. So I wanted to be able to use those two scenarios to simply just point out that in any situation that you have in your life, positive or negative, you can find goodness to still overcome them and to push things through. Now, unfortunately, the reason why I also think tonight's discussion is even more important is for some of you who may have been privy to the news, there were some really tragic things that happened today, not just in our home state, but also in Utah. I think it's even more important that we try to focus as a community and as individuals and as a society to support each other, to love each other, and to try to focus also, like, if we need help, please do not be hesitant to reach out to others. My heart goes out to anyone that it was impacted with the tragedies that occurred, but I just think it's so important that we realize and focus on where we're at, where we're going, looking at things moving forward, and realize that you can get through things, and the best way out is always through. Thank you.